Shut up and sit down.
Welcome to the Big Blue Offensive Podcast with Mike Trainer, Jay Jules, and John Depot. Hey, what's up, Giants fam? Welcome to the Big Blue Offensive Podcast. We are the former hosts of the Giants Ball Podcast. I'm Mike Trainer. You can find me on Twitter at Mike Trainer MFT. You can find Jules NYC1, and of course John at NYG Slap Parade. Guys, we're gonna talk about like the overview of the draft real quick. We'll give each other opinions on that. Mine was A++. If there's a higher grader than that with extra credit, Dave Gettleman gets it. We're gonna talk about each player. We'll dissect each player we got drafted, and then we'll talk about these Aaron Rodgers rumors going around. So, guys, what's up, man?
What up?
What's going on?
I'll start reading that draft. I thought it was a fantastic draft, but I gotta admit, man, when the Eagles jumped us to trade with our division rival, another one with Dallas, I thought like we're screwed again. We're getting played. I couldn't believe it that our division rivals would team up, our enemies would team up and come up with that draft to take my guy Devontae Smith. But you know what? All of a sudden, like 10 minutes later, they totally redeemed themselves, man. With a great trade, a number one draft pick, a fifth pick, a fourth round pick. I'm like, they were just all over the place. I was like, I couldn't believe it. And to get like drafted later on, we'll get into each draft pick, but to draft that Florida wide receiver, man, I'm doing some homework on him. Holy shit, guys, how do you feel about that draft?
I felt like it was mixed emotions, right? I was definitely very emotional over certain picks at certain times throughout the draft. Yeah. I let it be known, right? I don't hold back. I let shit be out there. But of course, for the second season in a row, they totally redeemed themselves, not only with the trade back, of course, but also in getting fucking what we got as the second round pick in Ozolari, who I absolutely love and thought he was actually a first rounder. And we get into that more so when we get into more of the double picks. For me, I would say that it would be a home run. I would give it a full A+ if we picked up one lineman. Just one fucking lineman for depth, right? Look, you got a couple of guys that are currently on the team that are sitting there from the practice squad. There's just you just want a little depth. If you talk about that, you can't have enough fucking corners and shit. How could you not have enough linemen? We're going to get into that more, of course, but to me, I give them an A-.
Now, Jules, the entire draft process or leading up to the draft, I was dead set, AVT, get a lineman, address right guard, don't even trade back, this, and that.
Sure.
I will say this. I did not foresee them trading back all the way to 20. If you would have told me to bet a mortgage payment on that, I would have done it 10 times out of 10 that they would have not done that. But they did. And they actually ended up with the first round pick, man. So although I was dead set against going wide receiver in round one, although I was dead set against trading back, it's hard to argue with that type of return. You basically got a free pick out of it, a free first round pick out of it. And you end up getting the receiver that, a receiver that, after a few days of doing some homework and listening to people talk about this guy, there's definitely something to be excited about. So it was overall, I mean, you can't not give it an A. Like you just can't. You want to give it A+, sure. You want to be cute about it, but that's the fact remains like they knocked it out of the park, man. They got an edge rusher that people thought was okay drafting at 11. We got him at fucking 50, which is just bananas. And whether it was the knee issue from high school, whether it wasn't, whatever the story was, he seems to be somebody that they're high on. That's a pretty good scheme fit for our team. We got some depth and, offensive line. I was dead set. I really, really wanted to do that. And the fact that we went all 7 rounds without drafting one or 6 rounds, 7-round pick without drafting one is shocking. But at the same time, you can't draft somebody you're not confident in. And it just didn't line up. They said that they had guys on their board that they wanted to draft that just happened to get drafted in front of them. And what are you going to do? You're going to trade up to draft an offensive lineman? I don't know that I would trade one of those picks for an inferior guard that we ended up getting in the first 2-3 picks.
They wanted Banks, didn't they? And then they, he went before the Giants drafted. Otherwise, the kid from Notre Dame, the guard. Otherwise, he would have been their pick at a certain point. But unfortunately, like, maybe we'll sign like a vet. Like, I think that's what, there'll be cuts during the summertime. There'll be somebody available. But let's talk
Yeah.
about that major haul we got from the Bears, like that trade.
Woo.
So the Giants, sure, they went back from 11 to 20, 9 spots, not bad. But they also got, the fifth round pick this year. Then
Yep.
next year they got the Bears' fourth round pick and the first round pick. And a little
Bananas.
tidbit of information there. The Bears were originally offering a second round pick. Gettleman said no. He demanded the first round pick, and he got it. Can you imagine, guys, if like the Bears go like, say they go like 2, 3, 4 wins, like they have a rough season. Can you imagine what that pick? That pick would be fucking gold, man. I mean, sure, missing out on Devontae Smith hurts, but I tell you, man, look who we got, in this Tony kid. Have you guys watched any tape, Jules? Have you watched it?
Yes.
Oh,
Dude.
of course I watched it, and I had to. I was definitely forced into watching tape eventually, especially after blowing up like I did around that whole first pick in the general. I mean, look,
If anybody wants to listen to Jules lose their mind, go back to the last episode in the draft and just listen to him for about 5 fucking hours, and then you'll get it.
Blasted, bro. Blasted this kid.
It was a lot.
Listen, I don't know. I could have sworn that we were kind of in agreement that if you want to say that, Waddle and Jamar Chase and Devonta Smith and all those guys, those were your top 3 receivers, the name that was getting tossed around as that next best one was Rashad Bateman to me. And the fact that he was still sitting there at that 20th pick, and then we took Tony, who, don't forget, he's a converted wide receiver. I understand he's full of athleticism. The kid could run. I know he's now starting to draw, Odell Beckham comparisons. And I saw their 40 times. I saw their verticals. I saw their clone drills. It does look like a clone, right? It's crazy how similar they are in statute. I can't say that that's going to translate onto the field. I don't know if he's doing one-arm catches on the end zone, into the falling backwards. I can't say he's going to do all that kind of banana shit. But what I do see for the kid is I see a lot of these sort of like screen passes that he could kind of like just break, and he makes things happen with that type of shit. Look, I don't know about you guys, but I was absolutely getting tired of seeing Evan Ingram with these fucking stupid end arounds. I'd much rather see this kid do that, because when he did it in college, it was fantastic. And he was a converted quarterback. So I'm expecting to see some Wildcat. Yeah. I would love to fucking see him and Barkley in the backfield together. Maybe even split Daniel Jones out occasionally so he's not completely out of the play. Like, there's all different types of shit you could do with this type of packaging. That's what I think he brings. And then, of course, from what I hear, he can return, right? He can do punts, he can do kickoff returns. So maybe there's some explosion there. So that part kind of got me excited. It's just a little crazy when you spend that first round pick. But considering we have the Bears' first round pick next year, and most likely they're going to be starting Justin Fields at some point in the season, and Andy Dalton and that combination. Look, there's no guarantee they're going to the playoffs. There's no guarantee they're going to win 10 games. You don't know what to expect from the Bears. There's a really good chance we'll be picking with just their pick alone. That could be a top 15 pick.
Oh, it could be a top 15 pick. You probably could bet a pretty good amount of money that is going to be a top 15 pick. Every year there's 3 or 4 teams that made the playoff last year, the season before, that don't make it the next season, and they have that written all over them. They've lost key players. The players that they do have that they lean on are all obviously getting older. And if you're going Andy Dalton first year in a system, or a first round pick quarterback Justin Fields, you can't expect them to be a 9-10 win team. They're probably going to be 4, 5, 6 wins, and that pick should be a top 10 pick, top 12 pick.
There's no doubt about that. I can't wait to root against the Bears like every fucking week next year. That's going to be one of the best things besides watching the Giants win. And the Giants actually do play the Bears next season.
That's going to be exciting.
That's a double whammy right there. We get a win, they get a loss, and I tell you,
that's 2 W's on Sunday.
That's where you really can help yourself out.
Yeah, for real,
like the definition of it.
I tell you, I'm high on this Kadarius Toney kid, man. Like, I'm comparing him to like Tyreek Hill. Like, you could like Jules, like you were saying, like we could use him like the pre-snap motion in the backfield a lot. Like, fuck Evan Ingram with that bullshit. This guy is quick. He's athletic. I'm expecting him, to be honest, out of the 4 wide receivers we have, I'm expecting him to be number 2. I'm expecting him to be number 2 for the team, number 2 in fantasy. points, yards. I think he's going to make a huge impact on this Giants team.
You're going to say right away out the gate, rookie season?
Rookie season, man. I'm telling you, because we got a good coaching staff, Jules, and we got guys. And I know people like to, throw Garrett under the bus, but I mean, honestly, what did Garrett have last year to use? I mean, we watched him in Dallas when he had like some weapons, not as comparable to this Giants team, and he put up like the 5th most points, in the league on average, in his time in Dallas. So, I'm not going to shut the door on him because now he has the weapon. So it's up to him to utilize it. And, I think he will.
Yeah, definitely. Listen, one thing I just have to say, though, what also kind of led to me going bananas on the whole Tony pick on that first round of Thursday night was the fact that the two guys that I wanted in this entire first round for the draft, Michael Parsons and Devonta Smith, are now on my fucking most hated teams in the NFL. Like, seriously. Right. Like, that shit was a blow, man. Like that was a hard pill to swallow at that point. So, like, yeah, I wanted to save, give me fucking Vera Tucker because it's safe or something like that to just kind of go along with that first round pick. Or like I said, I was a big fan of Rashad Bateman, although I feel bad for the kid because now he's in Baltimore. And you know how that goes. That's why receivers go to die in the NFL. But with that said, I did tell you guys, right? I said, this was my prediction when it came to it. It was pretty damn close. I said, look, I like those two guys. And if we have the choice between the two and we end up going with Parsons, it's because the whole character issues and everything else are not relevant. And if not, and it's just him there at 11 and we somehow pass on him or he's not there, then the best thing to do is to trade back. And I'm not saying that was, the whole, like, that's how it was determined. And that's what made Gettleman decide to trade back because it was just Parsons. But I think that did have something to do with it. And I think you're right, Mike, when he was holding out for that first round pick, he was like, look, I'm either going to get Michael Parsons or the first round pick. What do you want, Bears? How bad you want Justin Fields? And they're like, we want him so bad, you take our first round. So I was like, bang.
That's exactly what it came down to.
You know what I mean? So, like I said, the trade back did not surprise me, man. I had a gut feeling about that shit. Granted, now Devonta Smith is there. Right. I don't know what happens. And I'm sure you guys seen some of the pictures of that tweet that went out. When you see a guy that's happy and it's the fucking picture of Devonta Smith fucking pissed at the world and like he had a smile fucking like that stretched across the Meadowlands. Like,
Jules, that would be me if somebody forced me to move to Philadelphia for my job. That would be me in every picture for the rest of my life. That fucking poor Bears. I tell you, that move though, it definitely showed you that the Giants, like, sure, they moved back to 20. If they were really desperate for an offensive lineman, they would have went there with number 20, but they were really dead set on getting a wide receiver and getting Daniel Jones a weapon, and that didn't change. Even after they lose out on Devonta Smith, they were like, we got a backup plan. We're getting this guy. And I give them credit for not, deviating from that plan and giving Daniel Jones like a weapon like that because, like I said, I believe we could find like, offensive linemen. And we did sign some, undrafted free agent guys after the draft, but maybe it could turn into another Nick Gates. Who the hell knows? But they normally don't do. It doesn't really pan out that way. You know what I mean? But all right, well, moving on from the first round pick. I mean, unless you guys want to talk about him more, but I know Jules, you want to talk about that second round pick because you were all on him for 5 fucking hours of that draft night talking about Aziz.
I didn't sneeze. I just said Aziz, right?
That's right.
One last thing about Tony, though, and it did make me feel a little bit better. I'm a huge fan of Urban Meyer. And at first, Urban Meyer was sort of hiding the fact that he was going to take him at 24. And even after the Giants had selected him, that was their pick. And that's why they went the way they did. So, hearing that and knowing that he was literally going to go like a couple of picks later did ease me over the weekend. But my guy was sitting there. And honestly, it's like one of those things like, look, when you hear the announcers start talking about shit, like when the game is going on and they're like, oh, Graham Gano has never missed from 35 yards out. Like, you're like, why the fuck you got to start saying that? Like, what's going to happen. Shit's going to go wide right. Like, motherfucker, right? Anyhow, it just totally blanked out his last name, but that guy Booger from ESPN, the announcer.
McFarland.
McFarland, thank you. I literally was like sitting and he's like, I don't understand how Azeez Ojulari's out there still. That's good. That's ridiculous. Any team that grabs him right now, he starts talking him up, and I'm like, shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. There's 2 more teams picking. Shut the fuck up. Literally, I had to get up. I'm like pacing around my house. I don't know what to do with myself. I'm starting to fucking chunk. All of a sudden, the Bears are going down quicker than they were even the night before and shit. And then finally, the Giants get up there and they did the right thing. They picked my boy, and I'm telling you right now, man, yo, Giants fans, you have something to be excited about. This kid should have been drafted in the first round, okay? He lasted to us. We traded back. He was still there. I mean, yo, this shit is just amazing that this kid was there when we were picking in that second round, man. And I'm telling you right now, go watch some tape on him, okay? This kid is going to be the real fucking deal, right? He's going to be able to play outside. He can cover. He can blitz. He does it all. He stops the run. He had one little thing. He had a knee injury in high school, and this guy, maybe he has arthritis. Bullshit. You know what I'm saying? They brought him to Dr. Andrews. The guy said he's fucking healthy as all could be. Everything is fine. Everything checks out. He shouldn't have been there. I still say to this point, I don't give a shit. I know there was some other good, picks and whatever throughout the draft. That to me was the steal of the draft. Period.
I know John wanted like offensive lineman there, but I tell you, me too. I was leaning towards that too. But I tell you, seeing him available here, I mean, sure, he definitely should have been a first round tag. He led the SEC in tackles for loss, sacks, forced fumbles. And by the way, yeah, high school, he had the knee injury. He never missed a game in Georgia. So now we're getting this edge rusher. And we
dozens of games.
Right. Yeah, dozens of games. And we got Carter coming back too, his Georgia boy. It's like the Georgia Giants right there. John, what do you think about that pick? I know you're like probably a little bit upset about not getting the offensive lineman.
You know what it was, man? I think after the first round was over, I wanted them, if they were going to go the offensive line, I wanted it to be cream of the crop. I think there's a chance that they had their eyes on a guy like, AVT, but he got taken obviously by the Jets before they had the chance to pick him. Post trade down, obviously. But when once those top guys were gone, it was like, I get whoever the best guy is going to be. And if it's going to be Azeez Ojulari, a guy that people were talking about being basically a borderline top 10 pick, and you got him at pick 50, that's after a trade down, that you got an additional third round pick. What else is there to really say? Like that, it's phenomenal value. And if he is who they think that he could be, where he's a 10+ sack guy, you have him on team control for the next 4 years, standing next to Leonard Williams for the next, I think Williams is signed for 4 years. Your next 4 years, you have legitimate pass rush all over that line. Afedi Odenigbo, he's a really good player, and he's going to show out this year. I just feel it, that he's going to be fun. And we're going to have two of the most difficult names in the pass rushing department of anybody in the NFL, Odenigbo and Ojulari.
Ojulari.
But between them, Dexter Lawrence, I think that's a big year 3 for year 3 is a big year for defensive tackles and pass rushers. You see usually a big step up from them. They might have a serious front line as far as pass rush is concerned going into the season. And the youngest guy on the team is 20 years old, and you got him at 50 after a trade down. I mean, just a masterful job in this draft by Gettleman and Joe Judge. Dude, really just got to hand it out to them.
After like 10 beers on a Sunday, man, there's no fucking way I'm going to be able to pronounce those guys' names. There's no way in the hell.
Yeah.
That's happening, man.
Just think of the Frank Sinatra song, and just like that's how you got Ojulari.
What about the other one, though? Can you say the other one?
No, not yet.
I'll
work on it too.
Odenigbo. I try to practice this. Afedi Odenigbo.
Well, before we get into
that's how you're supposed to say his name.
Before we get into the third round pick, let's take a quick commercial break, guys. And we'll be right back with the BBO NYG podcast. All right, guys, we're back. So the third round is here. And I know, Jules, you were fucking flipping. Do text messages. First of all, I had a text message with Jules going on between us three with the podcast. Then I have another, text message group with Jules and my friends. And I was getting the same exact text message. I knew you were copy and pasting all your
Of course, that's what I always do.
both was. So I'm reading like twice the anger It was just going crazy. So the third round comes along. I think I know who you wanted, but listen, the third round, number 71 overall, we got Aaron Robinson, the cornerback from Central Florida. And a lot of people don't know, he played earlier in his career for Alabama before he transferred. So that has that ties with Joe Judge right there, Saban. So, they got a little bit info on him. Jules, who'd you want like in the third round?
Listen, see, I thought this is where, how you guys were kind of feeling the old lineman, right? And I was sitting back and I said, no, let's get this edge guy, right? Everybody was talking about the edge. Everybody was talking about, getting another offensive weapon even for Daniel Jones, right? And I'm sitting there, look, Kendrick Green was out there from Illinois. Wyatt Davis was still out there. These were some late round offensive linemen that could be impactful. And that was there. It was sitting there. And I'm like, this is perfect. We got ourselves a playmaker. We got on offense. We got ourselves the defensive guy for an edge that I literally thought was going to be the best one. The hell with Kwity Paye. I'm putting that out there right now. Ojulari will be better. You heard it for me here, right here. That is a fact. All right.
Bro, what if he's better than Chase Young?
Well, we're not there yet. We're not there yet. Chase Young's got an NFL season under his belt, and it was pretty decent. So we're not there yet. Right? Let him hit the field, but let's keep him with his draft class for the time being. But yeah, Kwity Paye to me, look, Kwity Paye is more of a run stop. I've been saying that, and you're going to see the difference between these two players when the season starts. But yeah, man, with those two linemen there, I was sitting there, I'm like, this is fantastic. We got that offensive weapon. We got a fucking defensive guy that's going to develop into a stud, in my opinion. I'm telling you right now. And now let's go get an offensive lineman. Let's go get this Wyatt Davis. Let's go get Kendrick Green. They're out there. And we trade back and we get another corner. Like, bro, you just went and went out
trade up.
Agency.
Trade up.
Well, trade up for him, correct. Now, granted, I understand we did that because Dallas was supposedly eyeing them, and it was sort of like another payback to Dallas and be like, all right, we're now
Philly was eyeing them.
Well, yeah. I knew it was one of the guys, and it was one of it was either Philly or Cowboys.
One of those.
And that's fantastic. You know what? That always makes me feel good deep down inside when we fuck over one of the division rivals.
Yep.
But at the end of the day, you literally just spent free agency. You got two guys last year, and you signed another guy this year. You drafted McKinney, who's going to come back. You have a bunch of guys that you drafted from last year. What are you still taking more defensive corner guys? Like, it doesn't make sense to me. So much for Julian Love, right? I'm thinking his fucking career is probably over with us. I mean, how much is he really going to be playing? Like, you had guys that were there for the Giants that, to me, were, I think, good enough, right? I mean, if you're going to sit back and tell me that this offensive line is ready to go day one right now, you can't say the same for the secondary when we were claiming it was one of the best secondaries in football. And that was before. Now you go and spend a third round draft on another player to put in the secondary. And that's why I was tweeting the shit out of that. I was like, yo, this kid right now, for what we're slating him for, maybe he's going to play 20 to 25% of the defensive snaps. Maybe. And you are.
But he's a third round pick, though. That's what he's supposed to play.
No, come on, man. Wyatt Davis, Kendrick Green, these guys could have been starting. I mean, look at Lemieux. He was picked in the 6th round last year? And it became a fucking starter for us. So, come on, man.
That's circumstantial, though. That's circumstantial. That's because of injuries.
True.
COVID. You know what I mean?
Sure.
I don't disagree with you, though. I didn't want to get a corner, but apparently this dude's fucking nasty, man. You can't pass on good players just because, sometimes, it's the third round. You know what I mean? They're thinking a couple of years of development. Maybe by that time, Bradbury's not Bradbury anymore, and he could kind of take over for him. But I hear you. But just the thing is, you if the offensive lineman you have and he's so far rated under the corner, how do you not take him? How do you let that guy sit on the board and go to a division rival or somebody else that's going to end up hurting you?
They must really love Aaron Robinson, man. They're saying he might be able to, challenge Darnay Holmes for that slot position. He tackles I think he excels in the bump and run. They were saying it during the draft, and it looks like it. He might be another steal of the draft. Obviously we don't know yet, but we're gonna find out. I tell you that.
He's fast, dude. I think he had a 4.39 40 or something crazy like that. He's got some wheels.
Well, it was crazy, John, because that's what a lot of people were coming back and saying. They're like, bro, in 3 years, he's gonna be able to replace Bradbury. And it's like, yo, in 3 years. In 3 years, we can fucking draft another corner. We got 2 first-round picks next year. I mean, if something needs to be done with the actual cornerback position, we're gonna get ourselves a fucking stud. We don't need to take a shot in the 3rd round because the kid's a good slot corner. Like, yeah, I get it. Yeah, that's important in the NFL these days. I understand that. It's not what it was 15 years ago. Completely different. You do need a solid slot corner to kind of fit in with these passing schemes nowadays. But come on, man. Like, this kid better be like legit, and he better he better win that job. If he don't win that job, then to me that shit was a waste of a pick.
Well, normal draft picks usually take like 3 years, guys. You know what I mean? That's what we just got kind of like, caught up because our draft picks have been playing and they've been playing well, like off the bat, but normally draft picks, like you find out who you have in like 3 years.
Right. Especially when you're talking 3rd round, 4th round picks, man. That's those are your scratch off picks. Your 1st and 2nd round picks, you're committing to. You want them to be day 1 starters, barring injury. Your 3, 4 picks, your 5 picks, those are going to be your depth guys, special teamers, guys that you want to push the starters and develop into players. Then your 6th and 7th round picks, same thing. It's going to be, basically scratch offs. You're drafting talent and seeing what you can get out of it down the line. 1st and 2nd round, those are really you guys that are going to play mostly. Especially where we are in a roster build. It's not like we're in year 1 or year 2 of the rebuild at this point. The team is built. The 3rd round pick, chances are, doesn't have a place to play, even if he is an offensive lineman. He's not going to play a tackle. The only place he's going to be able to play is guard. And if you don't have a guard worthy of taking at that particular point, you can't. You just can't. And at the end of the day, we can trust Gettleman and Judge. They know way better than we do.
I mean, look, they were really big on this kind of stuff. Like, that's where the whole comment came from earlier with the whole, you can't have enough DBs. I don't know if I've ever heard that used so much until this fucking season. I mean, this draft, I should say. Like, okay, didn't know that was a thing. You can never have so many fucking D-backs. I never knew that was a thing. What are we going to start rotating them out? I mean, like, it doesn't make any sense. Like I said, there's a lot of capital money invested in our defensive back. We have McKinney, by the way. That was my favorite pick from last year as well. I cannot wait to see this kid on the field healthy with a whole fucking spring training and everything, all the bullshit behind him. Boy, let me tell you, you saw glimpses of what's to come with McKinney in that Dallas game. Go back and watch it, folks. If you don't want to see it, see what he's going to come to offer. He was playing like phenomenal in that Dallas game. And I'm telling you, that's just a glimpse of what's to come there. So, I'm pumped about it. And that's why, to me, the 3rd round pick, taking another corner DB, it made me erupt again. I was like, man, I was just all like, yeah. I was like, all happy. I'm high-fiving myself and shit. Yeah. I'm so happy. And then I hear that, and I'm like, what the fuck are we doing again?
I got drunk all 3 days for that fucking draft. Let me tell you, I did want Wyatt Davis at that pick too, but hey, listen, they know more than us, like John said. So
that's what I'm saying. I understand the emotional response, but at the same time, we have access to such a little amount of the information, especially when you're talking 3rd and 4th rounders, bro. We have like maybe 1%. We know his first and last name, the school he went to, the color of his skin, and maybe we watched 1 or 2 highlight videos if we didn't skip through those while we were watching them. That's it. These guys sit there all day, talk to them, talk to people around them, talk to their family. They go in on these guys. They know them way, way, way better. And just because some dude was okay in college doesn't mean that he's automatically going to translate. If they don't think that he's going to fit their scheme, you just can't draft somebody at pick 3 or the third round pick, 4th round. You just can't do that. You gotta have conviction in who you're picking.
It was especially hard to figure out like these guys like this year because of the whole COVID situation. The guys taking last year off. It was definitely a strange year to like even like research some of these guys.
I have a very interesting question to ask you guys if we're done with the 3rd round pick there.
Yeah, we are.
All right. So I've been listening for the last, 4 months, 5 months about how bad Jason Garrett's offense is and how they weren't doing this and they weren't doing that. And it just dawned on me, and call me a conspiracy theorist if you like, but what if Joe Judge and Garrett decided that, hey, listen, why don't we, once Saquon went down, they knew we have to start fresh. We have to basically create another offense. They probably had plans just in case something happened to him, but I don't think that they were thinking, the second quarter of week 2 was when we're going to have to go full-fledged into those plans. It was a catastrophic injury. I wonder if, to a degree, they nerfed the offense in a sense. They wanted to make sure that the guys, they were more focused not on the results, so to speak, winning games and points so much. And this is what they've said too. They wanted to use the year as you're going to learn how to play your position. You're going to learn what it is to play for the Giants. You're going to learn how to play it in the NFL, and you're going to learn the basics of what it is. And then we're going to go into year 2, adding Saquon back after the roster building season that, like Dave Young likes to say. Now we're going to go into, Giants offense, 102. And we're going to build on everything we spent the year learning, not take all of our bags out of our all tricks out of our bag year 1. Just kind of learn the offense, learn the basics of it, and almost like a 16-game I guess in a sense 14-game preseason after Saquon got hurt. Not that they didn't want to win or they didn't care about winning. I don't think that was the case. But what if they were pulling punches a little bit? That's all I'm saying.
Well, like I said before, like they didn't have the personnel to really open up the
Exactly.
and open up the playing book. But
right.
Just look at the numbers. Look at the numbers, when Barkley went down between, how Daniel Jones. I don't know the numbers offhand, but it was something ridiculous. Like Daniel Jones is like 25 touchdowns and like 6 picks when Barkley's on the field compared to
God.
10 and 10. 10 touchdowns, 10 interceptions when he's not on the field. So it just goes to show.
It's a staggering difference.
On the ball, it's fucking tough, man. Of course, that's why I'm not one of those Jason Garrett haters because what are you supposed to do? You're supposed to run fucking end of rounds with fucking Board, CJ Board. You know what I mean? Who we have as our wide receivers at that time. Slayton was banged up. It was tough on Daniel Jones to be going. So everybody needs to relax on him.
Well, one other thing too we got to keep in mind is that this it was sort of something that just kind of came in and was talked about for a hot second and then never mentioned again. I mean, listen, we went out and we brought in Rob Sale to be the offensive line coach, but he also has a lot of offensive coordinating jobs that he has done throughout college in Louisiana, Arizona. He was doing run coordinating as well. So this guy's very familiar with running plays in college, so that was, it was kind of the whole thing where we're thinking look, if Garrett has this year that we're expecting because everything, I don't want to say hits right, but things fall into place like they should. And the Giants, obviously start averaging more points than they have in the last few years. Garrett's most likely going somewhere. If he's not getting an HC somewhere, he's going to be close. He's going to be on that sort of hot seat where if it's not this year, then it's next year or the year after, right? And then all of a sudden he's going to be gone. Rob Sale is brought in to do that. And then it could be some of the logic too behind it where if Gettleman and Judge and Sale all got together and they're like, yo, we like the guys we have. I could work with this bunch. Apparently he's also this, I don't want to say offensive line whisperer, but kind of where he developed a lot of young offensive linemen throughout his tenure in college. So
good teacher.
There's definitely some of that behind it. Whether or not it's going to be shown this season, next season, who knows, but they are making moves in that direction that should alleviate some of the nonsense with this whole, Garrett's offense is basic. It's from 1995. Oh my God, it's so outdated. Enough of that.
That was my point. Is everybody's saying lack of creativity, lack of this, lack of that. Well, they might have looked at it and said, why show our face cards here with lackluster playmakers to be able to get the job done? The plays aren't going to work at the clip that we want them to work at. And then when we do have the playmakers, we can't use those plays again anymore. In the NFL, it's not like you can keep playing. You keep running the same play the entire season. That's not how it works. You have to keep changing and building on things. So, if you design a couple of good plays that you think could work with, Saquon on the field, you're not going to go and say, you know what, let's just try this play with a Gallman. And then now that play is scrapped. So I'm not saying it's, it is what happened. I'm just saying it's not really impossible for them to have almost kind of, like I said, nerf the offense in the sense that said, learn the basics. You guys are all young. You're all going to be playing together for the next few years. Thomas, Shepard, Ingram, Slayton, Jones on the defensive side, same thing. Dexter, Williams and Blake and Bradbury. Learn the basics of what our system is going to be, the Joe Judge New York Giants system. And then we're going to graduate after the season and go into a full board next year. I think there might be a possibility of that being the case.
That could be.
I don't see.
I just think,
bro, Daniel Jones had games where he played ridiculous football his rookie year. Like you get a quarterback throwing 4 fucking touchdowns in a game. Like that's big boy shit, bro. That's big boy shit. Go look at all the rookie quarterbacks in the last 10 years and look at their seasons and tell me how many times you've seen them have 1 4-touchdown game, let alone 4, with one of them being a 5-touchdown game in overtime to win against your division rival. Like, you're talking big games, and then all of a sudden he only had 11 touchdowns in 14 games. I don't know. I know they ran the ball better, and that's what it is. I know they had, but I think there's an element to it. What I'm saying here with nerfing the offense, I think there's something to it.
We get that.
I guess we'll find out.
Yeah, I mean, we'll definitely find out if Daniel Jones has it or not. I mean, a little teaser before we take another commercial break. We're going to be talking about if Aaron Rodgers is going to replace Daniel Jones later on. But we're going to take a quick break, and then we'll get into the last 3 picks of the NFL draft by the New York Giants. We'll be right back. All right, we're back. Man, that was a quick break. Round 4.
Yeah, guys, I just threw up.
Fellas. I don't know what you guys think about this, but round 4, number 116 overall, we drafted Ellerson Smith, outside linebacker from Northern Iowa. Jules, you have any information on this kid, man?
So, right here, I thought we were going to go, still thought we were going to go lineman, right? So I was like, Royce Newman, let's do it. You know what I mean? Yep. Like I was like, all right, like that's like a safe pick again, adding depth, all right, we're going to do that. And they mentioned this guy, and he's supposed to be a kind of a freak of nature, but we'll get into that in a moment because he's like 6'7", and that's where the reason he's going in round 4 and didn't go in round 3 or maybe even possibly crack round 2, but it was a little bit of a gamble. But the guy has 14. He didn't play last year because the program did not want to play under COVID. So his numbers are from 2019, where he had 14 sacks, 14 QB hurries, 21 and a half tackles for a loss, 5 forced fumbles, 2 block kicks, and then 64 tackles for the 2019 season. So the guy was kind of like beasting out there, right? He is the school record holder for 14 QB hurries in a season. So that was actually a record over there. I mean, listen, it's Northern Iowa, but hell, it's still a fucking record, right? So he's got some other things. He was a Buck Buchanan on the 2019 Buck Buchanan. He finished on there. He was nominated. That's for best linebacker in college. He finished like in 9th, but whatever. He was still on there. The biggest knock on him is 2 things. Number one, they say that he is definitely a sort of a development project, right? But he can get after it. He can get after the quarterback, and that's something else we need because Ojulari, to me, he's going to slot to be more of that prototypical sort of outside linebacker kind of thing where he can blitz off the edge, and that's what they call these edge rushes, but he's also going to be dropping back in coverage. This kid, they're saying, is more of that get-at-you type of rusher from the edge, right? He's 6'7", and here's the question mark.
6'7".
He's 6'7", right? So we got a big boy. Like, to me, it could be that he could be a young pup that needs to grow into his body.
Right.
Or we have a concern because I don't know if this dude weighs 245, if he weighs 255, or if the fucking shit that they were saying in the Senior Bowl at 265 was his actual size. So there's definitely some discrepancy there. According to what I've been hearing, is that in 2019 he was weighing 245 at 6'7". So if you guys all the time making all that fun about fucking Devonta Smith and this and that and all this other kind of crazy shit, this dude is 6'7", 245, man. That's not a big dude. Apparently, he came back this year and turned some heads in the Senior Bowl, was going up against some top offensive linemen seniors, and he supposedly put on 20 pounds, and he's currently sitting at 265. No. Wait, you heard something else?
Huh? Dude, what I heard is the last time he was playing, he was 185, and then his bro, I'm telling you.
Is that a new bowl?
He was like, he was mad thin. He was mad thin. He was only like 19 years old. He was a kid.
Right.
So he was mad thin. His last season, he didn't get to play because his conference opted out because of COVID. So none of the team even played. It wasn't like he decided he's not playing. Just no one played in his conference. And in that time, he added 60 pounds.
Man.
60 pounds, and then kept all his athleticism, and then like I said, Senior Bowl and all that stuff.
Right.
So I mean, I don't know that he's he's a monster in that sense, weighs 300 pounds. I don't think that you want him to be 300 pounds.
No.
6'7", 250 is a fucking X-Man right there.
You said 60 pounds, John?
Yeah, 60 pounds.
That has like Deca testosterone written all over it.
They tested me for at least a year, so I'm good. I can do all this type of shit.
Yeah, exactly, bro. Exactly.
He's like, yo, next time I get tested, this shit is gonna be rinsed out of the system.
Yeah.
No wonder why I took the year off.
He's a 4th round pick, so in the 4th round, that's exactly what you're drafting. You're not drafting somebody in the 4th round expecting them to be a day 1 starter for you. They're developmental picks. Hopefully they can contribute on special teams. They can step up a game or two if someone goes down. Try to work them in snaps here and there through the course of a game, especially if things go according to plan. The Giants are going to be featured in a lot of lopsided games, and they're going to be able to play at the bottom of their roster in the 4th quarter when they're sitting guys like Daniel Jones and Saquon and Blake Martinez and shit because they're winning 42-7.
Let's
nice. I love the optimism.
That's a great optimism, man. You were speaking of like special teams. I don't want to cut you guys off, but special teams brings us into the 6th round pick. We don't have a fifth rounder this year. We traded it to move up, right?
Yes,
we traded to move up to get the cornerback, Aaron Robinson.
That was the move. So
so we got it and then traded it away.
After we traded back in the second, it was crazy, but he just turned in like a dude that never trades. He just started fucking trading all over the place. It's like, all right, let's do it.
My man was playing Madden franchise all weekend, man.
All day, it was crazy.
So the special teams guy, this guy has special teams written all over his name. The 6th round pick, 196 overall, Gary Brightwell, running back from Arizona. Guys, this guy is probably like the guy. He's going to be like a third on the depth chart behind Barkley and Booker T.
Yeah, Booker T.
Dude, he's got fresh legs, man. I think he's like he only had like over 200. He's like Trey Lance. He only has like 200 touches. Like only like 20 receptions. So he has like legs going into the NFL. So he could be like another like guy could excel because he's like a dominant special teams guy. And that's kind of what we need. Like, the guy that runs down the sidelines, the gunner, he might fill that position. And like they're saying he might be pretty decent at that. And Joe Judge loves his special teams. So maybe he's that, he's his pick.
That's a great point because, right around the time that the Giants were getting ready to do that 4th round pick, they had Dave Gettleman on. And they were literally, actually, or it might have been right after they made the pick. I don't remember exactly when, but it was right around that time. And they started talking to him, and they were, obviously, hey man, great 1st round pick, great 2nd round pick. This has been a great draft for you. Traded back, they're just praising him. He's just answering questions, but very, very sort of, I don't want to say like dismissive or anything of that nature, but like just very sort of like to the point, just like, look, this is what we liked. We saw it there. Yeah, we got some great trade value. Excellent, excellent, excellent. And then he mentioned, and he's like, look, later on in this point of the draft, people forget, and this is a fact, that there are 3 sides to every football game: offense, defense, and special teams. Mm-hmm. What did Joe Judge used to do? What was his thing? Special teams, right? It answers to the entire team, right? So I knew at that point that's what we were looking to get. We were looking to get some depth there. So look, just taking another running back, just to have some protection just in case, and we're not signing guys off the street like we did last year to fucking play running back just in case. We have some depth. I don't know how good it is. It's tough to determine. I mean, the kid had a good average. He didn't get a lot of playing time, like you mentioned, so he is fresh. He did play for Arizona. I mean, it's still a big time school. It is what it is there. Like, look, I think this guy and probably the next guy, they were brought in specifically to give depth and add to special teams. That's what these guys are being put in there, and that's why we were drafting them.
Well, guys, you got to remember, in this new analytics world, you can get running backs in the 6th round that'll be of equal impact of Saquon Barkley. So
I sense sarcasm.
Just a little bit. A little bit. I saw something on Twitter yesterday, day before, something like that. But it was like a breakdown by position of positions that bust out in the NFL draft. And they had the 6th round or running backs in the 6 rounds hit where they were on the team for 3 years and started like 50% of the games or whatever it is. Or no, I don't remember. It wasn't that strong of a metric. It was stayed on the team for 3 years or something like that. Active roster for 3 years. only 6% of the time did the 6th-round pick actually do that. It was some like wild statistic where it was like super unlikely that you're ever going to get somebody. But yet, these analytics people, you can't say Saquon's name without getting harassed and molested about fucking him being a terrible pick. And then you can get, guys, off the street that are 42 years old that can go out there and fucking, perform like Saquon Barkley. They pretend that he didn't run for 50 or didn't have 1,500 yards in 12 games in whatchamacallit in 2019. No, he was hurt. He got hurt. He missed 3 games, so he gets a 0 for the entire season.
It's a fluke, John, because these running backs, like, they don't normally hit after like those kind of late in the rounds. The only one that hit for us was Ahmad Bradshaw because he was an asshole. Like, he had like baggage. That's why he lasted to the 7th round. We lucked out. That's why.
Yeah, character concern. Sometimes it works out.
Yeah, listen.
But that's the thing, man. And I listened to Joe Judge on a couple of the radio shows. Doesn't sound like we're going to be getting too many of those guys in here. But when you have a established culture in a locker room, your locker room can police itself. So you could take more risks on guys like that, the locker room will straighten them out or they'll just spit them out. You're not going to do that on a 1st or 2nd round pick probably, unless he's just a god. But, you might be a little bit more ready to do something in the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th rounds because, you have a professional environment. You have like a Yankees type thing going on in your locker room where it's about ball and, we're not out here trying to fucking go to clubs and this and that.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I love how they always like come up with these like character issues, this, that, unless it was something that it's just like outright blatant and it, he's caught, he did this, whatever. How are you going to sit back and fucking have character issues for teenage kids? These guys are teenagers for the most part. They were the man in high school. You know that shit. If you're getting drafted to some of these big time schools, you're the fucking man in high school. That means you walk around town like fucking like you're God or something, especially in some of these towns down south and shit. And then you go to college.
Just dick hanging out the zipper.
For real. And he's just like, eating for free and shit. You know what I'm saying? Like all types of stupid shit. And then like you go to college and you go to some of these bigger programs. It's the same fucking thing. Like, they act out. We all did. Your hormones are running through. You're going crazy. Like, you don't know what end is what. You're not taking this shit as like, it starts to get more professional, more serious on the college level. Sure, you play to win, but at the end of the day, you're playing fucking football. You're not fucking, you're not med school trying to fucking do plastic surgery or fucking, all this types of shit. You're playing fucking football, man. Yeah, you're going to fuck around. You have a lot of downtime too. There's going to be crazy nonsense that goes on. So character issues could go one way or the other, right? And that's why I always like defend those guys until I flat out see something that this kid did, and you're like, all right, yeah, there's no excuse for that, right? Because obviously, like murder somebody, rape somebody, kill somebody, whatever, can't do any of that shit. But if it's along the lines of maybe some hazing or and light hazing, obviously, I understand nowadays there's a whole thing. You can't haze a guy anymore. Like, listen, man, come on. Like, some of it's all right. You should get razzed. Like, like as long as it's in good fun and no one's getting like physically or really mentally hurt, let it fucking go. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on, man. Like stop. Right? But that's why some of that shit you got to kind of really read between the lines.
So true, man. Well, we had another pick in the 6th round, our final pick. His name, you guessed it, another cornerback, Rodarius Williams. Impressed at the Senior Bowl, so another guy like I don't really know too much about.
And you know how your boy DG loves the Senior Bowl.
Bro, it's not just Dave Gettleman.
He got away from it for a little bit, and then he was like, I gotta give me some Senior Bowl shit.
Bro, if you look, a lot of the guys that play in the Senior Bowl, they get drafted. It's not Dave Gettleman, it's the NFL. They look at that as an opportunity where these guys are playing against, fair competition, and they want to see how they perform. And it's not specifically just the game. It's also the week leading up to it. It's more of an expo than it is anything else.
Of course.
They don't really care about the 60 minutes on the field. They're talking about interviews and, testings and all this stuff that they do there with the players. That's what's most important. That's why I think they fall in love with them. I think the tape on the field, specifically at the Senior Bowl, is nice, but it's, it's a second cherry on top of the, of the entire Sunday which is all the film and then the interviews and everything else that they did pre-Senior Bowl game time.
Yeah, listen, I ain't gonna lie. By the time this pick came around, I don't want to say I was, I wasn't mad or anything like that, because obviously you guys know I didn't tweet out on Saturday or anything like that. But when it got to this, to this last pick, I was just kind of like, yo, in my head, I already know, it was like, they're going special teams. There was one guard that was still out there, the kid Trey Smith out of Tennessee, who, they were saying, bro, they say he was going to get drafted in the first 3 rounds last season. All these blood clot issues came into play and all this nonsense. And he almost fell completely out of the whole thing. And he ended up on Kansas City. So that's a name there where it's like, look, Kansas City, the defending champs, they spent a lot of capital on offensive linemen. Why? Because Pat Mahomes was running for his fucking life in the Super Bowl, right? And they went out and they invested in that shit this year. So to take a guy like that at the end of the draft, maybe he works out, maybe he doesn't. But, you're talking about a team that just won a Super Bowl 2 seasons ago, was just in the Super Bowl this past season, and literally they're picking up a lineman like that at the end. So, there's something there. There is that kind of hidden value sometimes in round 6. That's kind of where I was hoping we went, because to me, how is this kid going to play in the fucking secondary, man? This kid got no shot at playing in the secondary. So this is just a straight special teams pick. And, he's going to do punt coverage or kickoff coverage and shit like that. That's basically what that pick was. So watch now. Of course, some crazy shit will happen and this kid will fucking make a name for himself. We'll be talking about him and I'll fucking eat crow if I have to. But for now, I don't think we're going to be hearing that name called too often on Sunday.
6-round picks, man. They're special teamers. They're practice squad guys. They're camp bodies. They're competition. You're not building your roster with 6-rounders. All you're doing is writing, saying thank you fucking to the football gods that a 6-rounder hit on you for you. That's really all it comes down to.
I mean, they did show some crazy stats of that though, where they said something along the lines of like 40% or 50% of everyone's rosters start from the 3rd round on. And that's how you fill out your rosters. And those are the guys that kind of create more depth or end up being on the team. And you're right. Practice squad, more depth, backup. They're not the stars, but they're
development.
Team, and that's kind of where these kids are going to end up for the most part.
Yeah, like I feel like the name that always comes back to me when talking about like development is Corey Webster. When Corey Webster first came out, like he was a higher draft. I forget what round he was drafted in.
3.
3rd rounds?
I think so.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, 3rd or 2nd. I forget what it was. Whatever it is. But I just remember him like bottom of the roster, a couple snaps here and there, few years later, all of a sudden he's picking off Brett Favre to go to the fucking Super Bowl. You know what I mean? It's just like the development. It takes a few years, and for whatever reason, whenever I hear anybody talk about it, Corey Webster is the first name that comes to my mind.
Round 2. Corey
Round
Webster.
2, yeah. Yeah, me too, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, listen, speaking of the guys that on the bubble can make the team, I'm not, but we did sign a couple guys after the draft ended. Just honorable mentions. Brett Heggie. I'll call him Brett Hoagie. I like the name Hoagie. He's an offensive lineman.
Out of what school?
So we got an offensive lineman. We got Jake Burton. He's a guard, also a tackle. He played with Baylor. Then he transferred to UCLA. And then we got another edge, Raymond Johnson III. In case you don't know, Raymond Johnson original and Raymond Johnson II. I have no idea who they are either. But he's the 3rd. Hopefully he'll be a good edge.
Yeah, original is that.
Who the hell knows, man? But I mean, that's a wrap with the draft. I mean, unless you guys got any more things with the draft, I mean, we could talk about that big rumor going around Giants land right now.
Well, I mean, listen, that was the one that kind of like was almost overshadowing that back part of the draft for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's just you guys know, if whoever listens to the show more than once, I fucking hate draft season. It's the fucking most annoying thing in the world. But I will say this: having those going into the season, being truly and genuinely confident in what this team can accomplish, and the fact that we have some other team's 1st-round pick from right now, not like a mid-season trade because the team was bad and we traded our star player like Odell to get a 1st-round pick. That was off season too, but you know what I mean? Like, we're able to go right now, draft. We're able to go into the next season rooting against the Bears every single week, and then, rooting for our own team every week. It's just going to make it exciting going into next draft season. They did just a ridiculous fucking job, man. Just a ridiculous job. I think 6 picks in the first 3 rounds, or 5 picks in the first 3 rounds, some bananas like that. Just absolutely phenomenal job, man. I can't wait to fucking abuse people this year.
No, it's so true, man, because all you kept hearing throughout the night or nights of the drafts was how 2022's NFL, draft is going to be loaded. There's so much talent coming out. That's where you want to load up. So, look, you know what? As much as we support the team, we're all on it. Can we win? Should we be in the playoffs this season? Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Are we going to the Super Bowl and winning? I don't know if I could say that as of today, but who the fuck knows, right? Because no one ever knows. You never can predict half the shit that goes on, right? But you know what? We're getting there. We're real fucking close. If you're going to tell me we're going to have a loaded, talent of kids coming out next year in 2022, and we got extra picks and 2 first rounds, and man, dude, that's where after this season, and I'll make my predictions as the season gets closer and we start seeing everything start. But this year, to me, you're really going to see what the Giants are missing. Are we missing this to be there? Are we, that's where we're going to be. Okay, these are the 1 or 2 pieces that are missing from us going to the actual Super Bowl. Like, that's how close I think this team could be. Great. Granted, everything's got to hit, and we're going to get into that in a moment. I'm kind of leading up to that part because one of the big things that's got to hit is got to be this guy. But if that shit clicks, we're on our way. That's for damn sure.
Dude, our defense is going to be absolutely insane. I can't wait to watch them play and draft them in every fucking fantasy league I'm in. I'm going with the Giants. I might have to draft them high. I'll draft them in the 8th round. I don't give a fuck. Like, they're going to be.
I know you guys just heard it. People listening, but Mike just leaned into the microphone to give you a little fucking nugget of knowledge right there.
That's that nugget of knowledge. Once in a while, I get some knowledge, man. It's not all jokes for me, man.
No, listen, it sucks, man, because usually the draft that him and I are in together is the draft where I could get like a lot more players because we do it auction style. So literally, you could get pretty much whoever the fuck you want. As soon as I'm in there with him, I'm like, fuck, man, I got to cross Barkley's name off the list because he won't let me get it. He'll just keep going at it. Now I'm like the Giants defense. I'm like, yeah, I think that's a nice little sleeper pick for these fucking things. I'm like, this dude's going to be fucking going at it with me. I'm like, no, I don't want to do that.
All right, he just bet $30 on the Giants' fucking defense. Holy shit.
Which is just absurd.
and then, of course, I'm going to want Daniel Jones because I think he's going to prove a lot of people fucking wrong or right or whatever. But
embarrass them.
We got to talk about this real quick before we go. We've been on like an hour now. There's a rumor going around that Aaron Rodgers wants to get. I mean, he definitely wants to get. He wants out of Green Bay, and he put 3 teams on his wish list to get traded to. And one of them happened to be the Giants. So all these fucking people on fucking Twitter like, oh, if we get Aaron Rodgers, we're gonna fucking win the Super Bowl, this and that. And I'm like, yo, calm down. He commands a lot of money. He's a dick. He's a fucking he don't get along with a lot of his players in his own locker room. And we're trying to build a culture in this locker room. We got Daniel Jones on a rookie year. Daniel Jones has been playing great. I mean, well, not great. He started off his career good. Without Barkley, he's took a step back. But I have to play devil's advocate. Now, I'm going to start off by me saying this, that I love Daniel Jones. I think he's going to be fantastic in year 3, and I'm going to draft him in fantasy leagues high, probably like 4th, 5th, 6th round, maybe even round 1. Who knows? I might get a little crazy. Fuck Patrick Mahomes. I might go Daniel Jones. Right? Shock the world. So, but let me play devil's advocate here. Next year, we got obviously our own number 1 pick. We got the Bears' first round pick. If Daniel Jones falters or doesn't have a good year, do we use those draft picks to go after a quarterback, say like an Aaron Rodgers or Deshaun Watson, somebody that might become available next year? Because I don't think there's a lot of good young quarterbacks coming out in next year's draft. I haven't seen it yet. We'll know more like when we start watching college football, but it doesn't seem like it like that now. So that's an option that's on the table if Daniel Jones falters. I hate that I have to say that. I'm just saying it for the benefit of the podcast and the discussion, but I want to kill myself for just even saying that shit. But guys, what do you think about Aaron Rodgers and Daniel Jones going into year 3?
I mean, listen, that's what I was alluding to. But go ahead, John, man. You look like you were ready, bro. Go ahead. You jump in.
Bro, Aaron Rodgers is a great quarterback. Aaron Rodgers is also mentally a fucking bitch. And if he can't fucking make it in Green Bay, you're not going to fucking make it in New York, bro. You throw the first interception, people are going to talk shit at you. And when the media starts asking you questions, I'm not going to say that he's going to be a fucking scrub out here. He'll play well. But the expectation is going to be dominance and Super Bowl. and you can't guarantee that. So the very second that he's gonna fucking get any type of criticism, that weak, thin-skinned little motherfucker, he's gonna need to go to therapy, and he's gonna have to miss practice on fucking Tuesdays, or Tuesdays is the day off, but miss practice to fucking go sit down with a fucking shrink like fucking Tony Soprano because he's got all these fucking problems. Keep that guy in fucking Green Bay. Go send him somewhere else to Denver. Let him go fucking smoke some weed with his wife. Keep him the fuck out of New York.
Yep. Man, listen, I agree with you. I don't think, like, when people are really, any of the Giants fans or other people that were kind of jumping in on that, they see that Tom Brady went to Tampa. They see the Giants load up with all these offensive weapons, and automatically everybody's like, oh my God, we did that. That's a missing piece, and that's the one, and we're gonna win a Super Bowl. It'll be Brady versus fucking Rodgers again, and this time it's the Giants in the NFC Championship game. Slow your roll. That's not the case. You know what I mean? Do I think that he could establish, if he did come here, a great relationship with Galladay and some of the other receivers? Of course he could. I mean, he's Aaron Rodgers. He does fucking know how to play football. He did win a Super Bowl. He is good. You want to talk about character issues? Well, here's a guy that apparently doesn't even get along with his family. And you want to talk about characters? He's a grown fucking man now, right? Like, if characters are still there, then that's what you always were. And that's probably part of the reason why he slipped in the draft to begin with, right? Because let's not forget about that shit. Yep. You got guys like Alex Smith that were drafted over fucking Aaron Rodgers, right? No knock on Alex Smith. He's been pretty damn good in Tennessee, but still, I mean, in his career, rather. But you know what I mean?
Yeah,
listen,
I do.
Dude, like it tells you something, right? So sometimes these character issues aren't actually issues. They're just the way this person is. And it's not the answer. It's not, I don't, like, as much as I hate on Tom Brady, you guys know I do. I've done it all the time. I've said it in a million podcasts. Aaron Rodgers is talent-wise maybe close to the same level as Brady, but he's not Brady in the fact that Brady knows how to bring a team together. He knew how to bring a system that he was running and brought that shit over with him and applied it to the guys that were there and went and said, look, if this guy isn't fitting or I need something, this is what I need because it's the system I'm bringing, and the fucking thing worked. Now, will it work this year? Fucking the hell no, it won't, but whatever. But like, that's the difference. So not every guy, I mean, look, Rivers went over to Indianapolis. It wasn't like fucking Christmas there. They didn't fucking like just all of a sudden go to the AFC Championship game. So like, it's not like, and you could say, oh, well, Rodgers is better. He's younger. Fuck all that. Rodgers needs to stay in Green Bay. That's his fucking team. He needs to deal with it. Devontae Adams loves him. That guy's a beast. They got shit there. They drafted another kid. They drafted another receiver. They got some weapons there. Like, Aaron Rodgers needs to shut the fuck up, grow up. All right, and play some fucking football and beat Brady that you should have fucking beat because you had him on the ropes, man. You fucked that game up. No one else did. Like, please, dude. Like, so no. But I would much rather see, because look, every year, no matter what, there's always quarterbacks that develop in college. There's always guys that, had like a pretty good, say, junior year or sophomore year, and now it's their time to shine. I mean, look at Joe Burrow, right? He was a 6th-round pick, and all of a sudden he's the number 1 overall in Cincinnati, right? So, like, literally, like, that shit can happen in a year. And if shit hits the fan and Daniel Jones cannot produce with this type of a team, then, man, we got 2 first-round picks. Even if we end up winning, say, I don't know, 8-9 games, and or we're right there in the mix, and we fall to where we had the 20th pick, and the Bears are pretty good. Look, man, you give up 2 first-round picks to move up, I'm sure teams will be taking that. They'll be listening, and we'll be able to go get our quarterback if that is the case. Now, do I think it is? No, because I hear a lot of criticism on Daniel Jones being, well, he was locking into his number 1 receiver too often. Bro, he got nobody else to throw the ball to. Right. Like, this guy ain't open. With a fuck else am I going to throw the ball to? Where's Evan Ingram? Here, you just fucking dropped it. Great. You know what I'm saying? There's nobody I can hand the ball to. Like, what do you expect? And then he was playing with an offensive line that was learning and growing. And now they're coming out and saying that this dude's hamstring injury was 100 times worse than he ever fucking put onto it. So, dude, there was a lot of just factors that went into this. Give the fucking guy another year, man. Like let's see what he can do. He's got the keys to the Rolls now. So if he can fucking drive out the Rolls Royce and make that shit and pimp it out, he's good to go. But if he can't, we got 2 first-round picks, man. There's going to be a good college kid that we can bring in if that's the case. I think that's the route that the Giants would go if that shit, like if the wheels fell off.
Well, you heard it from the BBO NYG podcast. Fuck Aaron Rodgers. We don't need. He's like a weird combination of like nerd and dickhead. You know, he's like a fucking nerdy fucking dickhead, man. I don't want him anywhere near in a Giants uniform, man, unless he's in the stands rooting for us in the upper deck. Fuck him.
Seriously, you know, I think that puts it pretty much to bed there with the way that we feel and the way most Giants fans should feel. It's like a fancy new car that like someone pulled out with they got a for sale sign on that shit, and you open up the fucking hood, and all of a sudden, if you know something about cars, you might find something wrong with it. If you don't know anything about cars, this shit looks great. And that's how I think Aaron Rodgers is.
All right. You get him in the building. Asshole alert, man.
Yeah, you know, like, look, I get it. Look, he's a Green Bay guy. The town still loves him out there. He's got guys that do support him. And look, Devontae Adams loves him. Fuck that. He was defending him. You know, he kept tweeting out saying that, look, be careful what you have, because you don't really treasure it until it's gone sometimes. And he's been saying that shit. Can I see another team perhaps taking a flyer on it? Sure. I mean, look at, Texas is fucking desperate for anything. Not that he would ever go there, but like they're desperate for anything. They'll probably fucking give up the whole fucking first round, like the whole draft. They're like, you can just take our draft. We just want Aaron Rodgers here if something happens with Deshaun Watson, right? Like, you can see some stupid shit, but like, I think he stays. Honestly, I think he stays in Green Bay. I'm going to just put that out there. I think he stays in Green Bay. I don't think he leaves. I think Green Bay is going to still be competitive. I think they're going to compete in that NFC North, and they'll be in the playoffs. They'll be in the playoffs for sure. That's my prediction there. John, you got any last minute thoughts on that?
Wrap it up.
No.
It's May 4th. May the 4th be with you. John's audio just kicked out. So it looks like we're going to have to wrap
That's what happened.
Oh, no. I have my microphone muted.
Oh, John's back.
I was like, wondering. I thought I saw talking. I was like, did you have something? I don't know what just happened. I made a 4th be with you.
I had to take a sip of that pink champagne, and I didn't want to cough on the microphone. So
nice.
Gotcha. Because of the pink champagne, I forgot about it. Pink champagne's not a drink either, just in case you guys are wondering.
Well, we're wrapping this one up like the draft has been wrapped up for sure, bro. You know what I'm trying to say? Like, listen, overall, very good, solid draft for the Giants. It's going to be exciting to see a lot of these young guys, play this season, especially some of the guys from last year as well. They're going to be mixing in. That's going to be something to look forward to as Giants fans for absolute certainty. But you know where to find us, right? We are the Big Blue Offensive Podcast, all right? You can follow us on Twitter. You can find us individually. It's at John's at MYG Slap Parade. Trainer's at Mike Trainer MFT. And I'm at Jules NYC1. May the 4th be with you. We out.